Hello, welcome in the new point. We are looking here the Russian Revolution. While looking Russian Revolution, what were the incidents taken place during that period and how it made effect in the Russian life and how it's were the cause of the Russian Revolution we are looking. Now we will see here the First World War and the Russian Empire. What happened in the First World War and how the Russian Empire treated to the people and how the people lost the respect about the autocracy that we are going to see in this part. The First World War took place in 1914. Before moving ahead, try to understand which powers were involved in the First World War, which countries were involved in the First World War. Central power against Allied powers. They were involved in the First World War. The countries which are shown with the green color, they were called Central powers, and with the yellow, they called Allied powers. The Allied powers, these are the Allied powers. The country first, England. This is the England. Then France, Russia, and in last, America involved in the First World War. They were called Allied powers, and the Central powers, the Germany, Austria, Hungary, and Turkey. These countries were involved in the, or they were called as the Central power. Centrally, in the center of the Europe, these countries were there. That is why they called the Central power, and the rest countries were called Allied powers. These countries fought the First World War. The war was fought initially in the Europe only, but afterward it expanded in other places also. Other countries of world also involved in the First World War directly, indirectly. So these are the countries which involved in the First World War. I hope you understood the map or the locations of the country which involved in the First World War. The country which involved in the First World War were having their global empire. These countries are imperial countries, means their colonies were in, in the world at the different places. Like the Britain's colony was in India. In that way, there were colonies or the imperial rule of these countries in the world. This was the First World War. In Russia, war was initially very popular, but later the support grew thin. Initially, the war was very popular. People supported to the war, involved in the war. But later on, when the war became lengthy, many years went in it. The support for the First World War became thin, less, or decreased. The support for the First World War decreased. Initially, people rallied around the Tsar Nicholas. As the war continued tough, the Tsar refused to consult the main parties of Duma. As the war prolonged, then Tsar were not concerning about the Duma. He refused to take the consultation of the Duma. So, on the other hand, the support became thin. It is not only anti-German sentiment ran high. People went against their sentiment, went high against the Germany. How much high it is, the example is given as can be seen in the renaming of St. Petersburg. St. Petersburg was the earlier name of city. It was the German name. People changed it as a Petrograd. So this example can give us very clear idea how the anti-German sentiment ran high in the Russia. The Tsarina Alexandra German origin, the Tsarina, wife of the Tsar Alexandra, her origin was the origin and her poor advisor, that is the Rasputin, monk Rasputin, he made autocracy unpopular. Cause of the Tsarina and Rasputin, the autocracy became very poor or unpopular in the Russia. People started to hate to this autocracy. Then what happened due to the war? Russian armies lost badly in Germany and Austria. The First World War on the Eastern Front differed from on the Western Front. The countries' Eastern Front and Western Fronts were differently fought in the war. In the West, armies fought from trenches stretched along Eastern France. In the East, armies moved a good deal and fought battle, leaving large casualties. Defeat were shocking and demoralizing. This defeat, the Russian armies which lost badly by the Germany and Austria, this defeat made shocking and this demoralized to the Russian armies. Russia's armies lost badly in Germany and Austria between 1914 and 1916. In this period, the Russian army lost by these armies of the Germany and Austria. This made bad effect on the Russian army or in the Russia. There were there were 7 million casualties and 3 million refugees in Russia. How this happened, we'll see. As they retreated, the Russian army destroyed crops and buildings to prevent the enemy from being able to live off the land. When these people returning to the motherland, they lost by the Austrian Germany that time. This Russian army destroyed the crops and buildings. If the crops and buildings will go in the hand of the enemy, then the enemy will be live here. They can be survive here. That is why the Russian army destroyed the region because it should be not go in the hand in a good condition. They could not able to be live in this land. The destruction of crops and buildings led to over 3 million refugees in Russia. Due to this destruction, 3 million people became refugee in the Russia. The situation discredited the government and the Tsar. This situation automatically claimed that this happened cause of the government and the Tsar. They are not good supporting or this is the wrong decision to involve in the First World War. This was the blame on the government and the Tsar. Soldiers did not wish to fight such a war. Soldiers now were not ready to fight in the war which destroys the country, which destroys the respect of the people, respect of the country. The war also made affect the industry. What happened in the agriculture or what armies we have seen. Now the war made effect on the industries. How could it happen? There was labor shortage. Why the labor shortage happened here? Railway lines were shut down and small workshops were also closed down. The war also had a severe impact on the industry. Why? Its severe impact made Russia's own industries were few in number and the country was cut off from other suppliers. Russian industries were very few in the number. So they were depend on the other countries and that supplies were closed down. This made effect on the industrial region of the Russia. Industrial equipment disintegrated more rapidly in Russia than elsewhere in Europe. The Russian industrial equipment disintegrated. This grade taken place easily than the other countries. By 1960s, railway lines began to break down. Railway lines also broke down. So transportation became low. Able-bodied men were called up to the war. The people whose health was good, they were called for the war. So cause of that one, the labor shortage taken place and due to that, small workshop producing essential were shut down. This was in the industries. Now what happened with the food? That we will see. There was the shortage of grains and hence of bread. The shortage of grains also taken place. How it happened? Large supplies of grain were sent to feed the army. Why the shortage of food taken place? Because the most food were supplied to the army automatically on the countryside or in the rest region of the country. Food shortage became taken place. For the people in the cities, bread and flour became scarce. By the winter of 1916, riots and bread shops were common. The riots again and again taking place at the bread shop. It means there was a shortage of food in the Russia. The First World War badly made effect in the Russia. That this was made discontent about the Tsar and the government in the mind of Russian people, and this led to the Russian Revolution or the further revolutions. So I hope you understood what is the relation of the First World War and the Russia. In the next part, we will see the February Revolution in Petrograd, how this all situation made the revolution at the Petrograd. We will see in the next video.